Hey guys, I hope you're all having a good day, and our first story is called My Darkest Confession. Back when I was 8 years old, I had a very dark incident. It crosses my mind from time to time, but I still remember it pretty well. My family was very religious, and this was after church. I was a husky little church boy. I had my church clothes, and my black hair was slicked to the side. I wore these big, thick glasses. I hated wearing my church clothes as it was so uncomfortable. That day, we learned about how Jesus would forgive all sinners, and if you were lucky, you would get into heaven. Sometimes I would just draw little pictures of cartoons in church. I would get them taken away, but I didn't know any better. Why would Jesus care if I drew pictures of Bugs Bunny? Well, that was my life. After church, my mother wanted to stop at a local grocery store to pick up some stuff. I split from her to go check the comic books, but I felt like using the restroom. When I got to the restroom, this big Santa Claus looking trucker pushed me aside. "Move it, I need to shit," he said in a deep, scratchy voice. This really upset me. I didn't have my mother to defend me. This man just shoved me out of the way. As the big man went into the stall, he was clearly having a hard time using the restroom. He kept moaning and it sounded like he was in pain. The sounds were like as if a large animal was drowning. The smell was horrid and of death. I even gagged a few times. Now I was very upset and I don't know what came over me. I knew I was probably going to hell for doing this, but this man had to pay. I first opened the door, then I locked the bathroom from the inside so no one would get in. I then switched off the lights and closed the door. All I heard was, "Hey, what the frick? Someone is in here. Hey, hey." I just left them there. There were no cell phones back when I was a kid, so this man was left in complete darkness. I left with my mother that day and had zero regrets. She doesn't know what I did. I'll always be her little innocent boy. I am pretty sure Jesus would have wanted me to turn the other cheek, but I'll never forget his desperate screams. Okay, I'm gonna be honest, you were low-key valid, but like at least he told you why he shoved you to the side. Sounds like he really needed to go, but maybe you taught him a lesson, I don't know. Next one is called Genuinely Felt So Good to Just Let It Out. Husband has been absolutely useless. Yesterday, snow day, so nowhere to go. I decided I can clean the floors, cook some meal prep while he watches the baby since I had her all week. I made breakfast, cleaned literally on my hands and knees, scrubbed the bathroom floor, scrubbed the entire apartment floor, cleaned the kitchen, cooked salmon and chicken thighs. Made dinner, then scrubbed the kitchen down, all while pumping and putting baby down for a nap because he refuses to do that too. So all day, all he did was eat my frickin' food, hold the baby on the couch, and shovel for an hour at my parents' house 10 minutes away. All I asked was for him to do the dishes for dinner. Finally, I get to the shower and wash my hair after a frickin' week, and he has the audacity to ask, "Are you done? Can you take her so I can play games?" I said no, then doesn't do the frickin' dishes, and then this morning complains that he didn't do them because you took up my whole day watching your daughter. I just let it rip. I don't care. I'm set on divorce. Now I can't even stand to frickin' look at him anymore. Frickin' useless bag of shit. Never bathed his daughter before, never cut her nails, put her to bed a handful of times in the past few months, never has done her laundry, cleaned the floors once. Meanwhile, guess who's been doing it? Me. It felt so good to just call him a lazy piece of shit. That's all. Frickin' losers, man. Low IQ, high ego, worthless people. Oh my. That story was something. The insults low-key made this story semi-funny, but not really because it's like sad too, but I mean, at least you're leaving. Good job. Just found out he uses me as content for his sibling group chat. I'm literally stuck at my boyfriend's house right now because of the snow and I feel like I'm losing my mind. I begged him to let me stay because my heater went out and I would freeze. He called up his brother and I overheard him say, "I've been telling my girl all week to come stay. I want to make sure she is okay." But the truth is, he never frickin' offered at all. I just found out he has two totally different versions of our life. To my face, he says he wants to spoil me and tells me not to worry about money, but then I found out he's texting his brothers every single time he buys me food or a gift just to make sure I look like a user. He literally admitted to me that when he bitches about me to them, he leaves out all the stuff he does. He starts the fights and treats me like crap, but then tells them a version where he's the hero and I'm the crazy one. He tells me he is not perfect, but he doesn't do it all the time. If he hurts my feelings, he gets upset that I'm upset. He tells them all my private business, like how much I pay for rent and my personal issues, but if I ask him one thing about his family, he tells me it's none of my business. Last night was the final frickin' straw. We were desperately trying to find someone to deliver us anything when he found someone and spent $50 on food. Mind you, he bought three different items but said I was being expensive for a $15 dinner I picked. He told me that he wasn't taking me out for Valentine's Day and immediately asked me to turn his porch light on so the delivery driver could see his house. Like, wow, you bought DoorDash and now you think you really did something and can boss me around? Well, his DoorDasher canceled and I was able to get us something I feel like the one being used. I'm going through a really hard time right now, and instead of being there for me, I overheard him telling his brothers he's gonna call him to report back as soon as I leave because we got into another major fight. He walked outside to check the road conditions, and I called my mom for advice. He overheard me when he came back in and busted open the door to argue with me. I feel like I'm not even a person to him. I'm just drama for him to gossip about with his brothers so they can all feel bad for him. He just basically isolated me from everyone because his whole family thinks I'm the problem. I'm leaving the second the roads are clear tomorrow and I'm going home and I'm taking a freaking break from all of this. I'm gonna be honest, this low-key just sounds like lack of boundaries and respect for yourself. It also sounds like he's broke. Or just cheap, or both, honestly. So, yeah, hopefully you set boundaries and he respects them, and if he doesn't, then you leave. But I really wouldn't want to be with someone who leaves out the bad they do to make themselves seem like they're the best person in the world because that's actually really weird. From what I read, he does a lot of weird stuff. That's not like the only thing, but that's something I wanted to point out because stuff like that is usually tied to other bad things. Something important that I want to also point out is that you can't even trust his family because clearly they don't keep him in check or hold him accountable or tell him what's right and wrong. Either that, like they don't care, or they think it's also acceptable. So if you were to get married, that is what you're gonna use your life on. So be wary and honestly just run. My elderly neighbor passed away and I'm furious at her family. My elderly neighbor passed away tonight and I'm so angry. She had pancreatic cancer for the last 2 years and recently finished receiving chemotherapy. We got the news that her cancer stopped progressing this month. My relationship with her during this time was almost non existent as I no longer lived at my childhood home. My family would bring her food up until a couple months ago until she asked them not to. Last week I was alone at my parents' house and her husband knocked on our door calling for my mom while I was cooking. I never answer the door unless I'm expecting a guest and don't know why I answered this time, but I'm so glad I did. I went upstairs and realized how lonely she was. She was confused, slurring, asking for me to fix her working phone. I helped her and stayed by her side that night, being blindsided by everything. I called her son from her phone, which I barely knew. He came over to stay the night. We had to call the ambulance twice due to her screaming in pain, but both times the hospital sent us back home with no screening, just temporary pain injections. She came home from the hospital, the son stayed the night, and some guests came around with snacks and well wishes and left. I was so confused by the whole thing as she was in so much pain asking people to stay with her. I couldn't understand why she wasn't receiving any IV or pain medication. She wasn't eating or drinking. She was saying that everyone left her alone in pain. The son kept saying that the abdominal pain was psychological. He even told her that he was going on a business trip for a couple of days while she was complaining about her abdomen pain. He later told me that there was no business trip, he just made it up to see her reaction. The son is around 45, I think, while I'm 25. I tried to be there for her, but I just didn't know how to deal with all the feelings. She kept saying that her feet were cold and that no one brought her any socks. I bought her a couple of fuzzy winter socks. She liked that they were red. At this point, she was bedridden and the sun was coming once a day to carry her to the bathroom. I was furious that she was left alone like this. The only thing about her medical situation that I knew was that she had cancer and had chemo. People who knew about her, her caretakers, didn't believe she was dying, so maybe I thought that I was overreacting and didn't understand the situation completely. Surely the grown-ups with her medical history would know better. I never experienced anything like this, so I wouldn't know. Instead of every day, I went there every other day as I couldn't stop crying at home seeing her like that. We weren't close for many years as I moved away for education, but I kinda did grow up around her. She crocheted a couple of baby dolls for me when I was a little girl. We would cook together. I wear the gloves she crocheted every day, even this year, but she was more like an acquaintance for me these last years. Yesterday, I held her hand for hours. I got her husband, who keeps getting ignored by everyone, to hold her hand by her side. She was in so much pain, mumbling me and my mom's name. I thought for sure she was going to die holding my hand. We tried to feed her liquids and found someone to give her an injection for pain. We called her daughter-in-law, one of her medical caretakers, and begged her to stay the night with her. She came but said that she wouldn't spend the night as her 20-year-old perfectly healthy son needed to wake up early, and if she didn't go home, he would stay up all night playing games on his computer. I felt so furious, but stopped myself knowing that I'm a stranger and I don't know everything, and maybe she was tired with the whole taking care of her mother-in-law. Her husband passed away a couple of years ago. I called another person who was her longtime friend and would call my neighbor mom and ask her to stay the night as I thought it was really important. She complained, explaining to me that she was so busy but still came. A couple hours ago, she cried in my arms, thanking me for calling her and that she got to spend the night with her. My mom found the other son's phone number from the neighbor's phone today, and he came out of town and got to see her mom for a couple of hours before she died. My mom called the ambulance in the morning and begged the hospital to not dismiss her this time. They found out that her kidneys stopped functioning completely and that she maybe would live for another 2 to 3 hours. She passed away at the hospital close to midnight. I'm so angry that it was me begging her loved ones to stay with her so she could have a familiar voice with her. I'm glad I could be there for her, but I'm pissed that the responsibility to call the other son was on my mom, a neighbor, instead of her whole frick-ass family who was supposed to be taking care of her, slash providing medical assistance for her. I'm so mad that I got to hold her hand and kiss her while she was dying rather than her family who knew her whole life. I can't stop crying at the thought of her sending her 85-year-old husband to our doors so someone could hold her hand. I found so much love for her in myself speaking to her, reminiscing about the old days this week. I kept telling her how strong she was and that I was there for her. I wanted to put lotion on her hands, but she was so fragile. I left her kissing her goodbye with the person staying the night, telling her that I would come to visit her soon. I feel so useless and wish I had started a family drama demanding them to get her a nurse or a private care at a hospital. I wish I screamed at them, telling them that she was dying in pain. It's just that her family is a stranger to me and I am to them. I'm just a neighbor of the elderly mom. I didn't think it was my place, and maybe I didn't understand the situation. This whole thing is the most coherent I can bring myself to write. I don't know how her kids dealt with everything for 2 years. She was never hospitalized, just outpatient, taking the bus to her chemo by herself. And how hard this situation is for the kids. Maybe they were tired, but still, I feel furious. In December 2025, while she was on her feet and had the energy to even take walks, my neighbor wanted to sell her house and die in a better house with care provided to her. The children kept refusing the offers on the house. That money would have kept them going for 10 years maybe. Tonight they gathered at her house, everyone with so much care for her and tears in their eyes. The sons, the gamer grandkid, the daughter-in-law, someone said that it was good that she died with no suffering, but she did suffer immense pain the last 10 days. She cried for hours holding her abdomen, screamed awake from whatever sleep she could get. They said that she was doing it for attention. Yesterday, I was trying to read hospice websites while holding her hand, trying to find what I can do to comfort her. Today, they're fighting over where to bury her. I'm growing up and realizing that I actually know more than I think I know. I got the red fuzzy socks with me. I hold her dear to my heart. Maybe I'm being selfish and it's not my place to grieve and be furious at them. I just want to bite someone. I'm glad she is not suffering. Oh, hell nah. Okay, that story was very depressing, but you gotta throw the whole family away. And you did a good job. Especially being a neighbor, because I feel like most people wouldn't be like that, but I don't know. If you guys have any stories or confessions or you need advice or something, the link will be in the description down below. And yeah, make sure to like and subscribe so I can feel important.